Somewhere deep in the jungles of central Vietnam, there is a hole in the earth. Not the kind of hole you stumble into and dust yourself off. No. This is the kind of hole where the clouds live inside it, where entire skyscrapers would disappear without touching the ceiling, where jungles grow underground, full, actual, breathing jungles, because the cave is so large, it creates its own weather system. Its own weather system. That's not a metaphor. That's not poetic license. I mean, actual clouds form inside this cave. Mist rolls across underground rivers. Rain falls in the dark. And somewhere beneath all of it, stalactites the size of 10-story buildings hang in silence. Waiting. For what? Nobody knows. That's the point. Welcome to Hang Sơn Đoòng, the largest cave on the planet Earth, and quite possibly the most humbling, terrifying, awe-inspiring, and deeply inconvenient place a human being can ever choose to visit. We're going in. Let's start with some geography, because geography matters when you're about to walk into something that could swallow a city block and not even notice. Hang Sơn Đoòng sits in the Phong Nha-Kẻ Bàng National Park in Quảng Bình Province, Vietnam. If you're squinting at a map right now trying to find it, don't bother. It's in the middle of dense, wild, unforgiving jungle. The kind of jungle that has not received the memo that humans are supposed to be the dominant species on this planet. The nearest town is Son Track. From there, you still have to hike, and hike, and hike, and hike some more, through mountains, through jungle, across rivers, until eventually, the earth just opens up beneath your feet. And that's how it was discovered, actually. Not by scientists with fancy equipment, not by a government expedition with helicopters and thermal imaging. By a local man named Ho Khan, who was looking for timber and food in the forest during a storm in 1990. He stumbled upon the cave entrance while trying not to die in bad weather. He felt cold air rushing out of the ground, which, if you've never had that experience, is deeply unsettling, heard the sound of a roaring underground river, and promptly decided, not today. Not today, Earth. He left. He came back. He got lost trying to find it again for nearly 20 years. 20 years. The man literally found the largest cave in the world and then couldn't find his way back to it for 2 decades. And before you judge him, I want you to go try navigating Vietnamese jungle without GPS and tell me how that goes for you. Ho Khan finally rediscovered the entrance in 2008 and led a British Cave Research Association team to it. Scientists Howard and Deb Limbert arrived, descended into the darkness, and what they found inside made them question everything they thought they knew about what was possible underground. They couldn't even reach the end of the cave on that first expedition. The cave stopped them with a 200-foot wall of calcite, which they named, brilliantly, the Great Wall of Vietnam. Because when something stops you cold inside the largest cave in the world, you give it a dramatic name. You've earned that. Full surveys began in 2009, and the results were, well, let's just say the world needed a moment to sit down. Gred. Here is where I have to give you numbers, and I want you to actually feel these numbers. Don't just hear them. Feel them. Hang Sơn Đoòng is approximately 9 kilometers long. That's 5.5 miles. Underground. A continuous passage, 5.5 miles long, carved by water and time into the limestone heart of a mountain range. The main passage is up to 200 meters wide. That's 656 feet. side to side. The ceiling reaches up to 250 meters, 820 feet, above the cave floor. To put that in perspective, the Empire State Building, including its antenna, stands at 443 meters. You could fit nearly 2 Empire State Buildings stacked on top of each other inside the tallest section of Hang Sơn Đoòng and still have room to breathe. Boeing 747s are about 70 meters long. You could park a dozen of them wingtip to wingtip across the width of this cave. They would look like toys. The entire downtown block of a major city. Underground. Dark. Silent, except for water and wind. And all of it, carved by a river. A single underground river, over hundreds of thousands of years, eating through limestone with the patience that only geological time allows. Carving, dissolving, expanding, never stopping, never resting, never once considering the possibility that one day, small, fleshy creatures with headlamps would come crawling through what it had made, taking photographs. The river didn't care. The river still doesn't care. The river is still down there right now, still carving, still expanding. By the time our civilization has turned to dust and someone new inherits this planet, this cave will be even larger. That should keep you up at night, in the best possible way. Now, let's talk about what's actually inside this thing, because large cave doesn't begin to cover it. The entrance and the descent. The mouth of Hang Sơn Đoòng is not the kind of cave entrance you've seen in cartoons. No neat archway, no dramatic stone doorframe. It's a collapsed doline. Basically, the ceiling of an older, more fragile section of cave gave up on life and fell in, creating a gaping hole in the jungle floor, partially obscured by trees and vegetation. To enter, explorers and visitors descend a steep, almost vertical section, sometimes called the Watch Out for Dinosaurs drop, which is only a slight exaggeration. The descent takes you through swirling mist, past walls draped in moss and fern, deeper and deeper until the jungle light above you shrinks to a pale circle and the darkness swallows everything else. Your eyes work hard. Your ears work harder. Everything sounds different down here. Then you hit the floor, and the space opens up around you like a secret the mountain has been keeping for 100,000 years. The underground river that carved Sơn Đoòng still flows through sections of it. It's not a polite, decorative little trickle. It is a fast, cold, powerful river that does not care about your expedition schedule. During rainy season, it can rise dramatically, which is one of several reasons the cave is only accessible during a narrow window each year, typically from late January to late August. The river enters the cave system from elsewhere in the mountain and exits somewhere else entirely. Where exactly? Well, the mountain has decided that's its business, not yours. Doors. Sơn Đoòng contains cave pearls, formations of calcite that build up around a nucleus, polished by dripping water into near-perfect spheres that are among the largest ever recorded. Some are the size of baseballs, some are larger. The stalactites are staggering. The largest in the cave is estimated to be over 80 meters tall, roughly the height of a 25-story building, hanging from the ceiling like the world's most dramatic chandelier. They've been named Hand of Dog by local guides, because when you're standing at the bottom of one in the dark and your headlamp catches it from below, it does look a bit like a massive stone hand reaching down from the ceiling, which is not at all unsettling, not even slightly. Wulk. Here's a fun fact about cave pearls that nobody asked for but everyone needs. They can take thousands of years to form. A single pearl, thousands of years, quietly rolling in a small pool, being coated by mineral-rich water, one microscopic layer at a time. Some of the pearls in Sơn Đoòng have been forming since before the Roman Empire existed. You will walk past them, probably in hiking boots, probably thinking about whether you packed enough snacks. The pearls do not care about your snacks. Somewhere in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. This is where Sơn Đoòng gets genuinely science fiction. Along the length of the cave, there are two massive collapses in the ceiling, places where the rock above gave way and fell through, creating openings to the surface world hundreds of meters above. These openings are called dolines, and they change everything about what the cave is. Cavelines. The first doline, informally called the Garden of Eden by cave explorers, because apparently when you find something impossibly beautiful in the darkness, you reach for your most dramatic biblical reference, is a stunning shaft of light dropping into the cave floor below. And in that light, jungle. Chew. A complete, lush, thriving jungle growing on the cave floor, trees up to 30 meters tall, ferns, mosses, vines, the whole ecosystem growing in near darkness, broken only by that shaft of light from hundreds of meters above. There are monkeys that live in this jungle. Inside the cave. Underground monkeys. I want you to sit with that. Birds have been spotted flying through the cave passages, cave swiftlets, which are used to darkness and echolocation, darting through a space the size of a sports stadium. The biodiversity in and around the dolines is extraordinary. Scientists have found species in Sơn Đoòng that don't exist anywhere else on the planet. Pale, eyeless cave fish in the underground river. Insects adapted entirely to darkness. Life finding a way, as life always insists on doing, in conditions that should theoretically be uninhabitable. The jungle in Doline 1 exists because of a quirk of physics. The opening above creates airflow, the light is just sufficient for photosynthesis, and the cave environment provides consistent moisture. The result is a microclimate, its own little self-sustaining world, sealed off from the outside by hundreds of meters of rock on all sides. It looks like something from a film, from a dream, from the kind of place your brain invents when you're trying to imagine what lies at the center of the earth. It's real. It's there right now. The trees are growing. The monkeys are going about their day. Completely unaware of, or completely indifferent to, the fact that they live in the largest cave in the world. Honestly, living the dream. The second doline is different in character, less garden, more cathedral. The light that falls through it hits formations on the cave floor in dramatic shafts, illuminating the mist that rolls through the passage. Photographers who have made the journey describe the light inside Sơn Đoòng as unlike anything that exists anywhere else on Earth. Which makes sense. It's light that has traveled through a hole in a mountain and is now illuminating a space that is simultaneously underground and somehow also, in some small measure, connected to the sky. Both sky and earth. Neither. Something else entirely. That's Sơn Đoong's whole thing, really. 2. We need to talk about the wall. During the 2009 survey, the British Cave Research Team followed the main passage of Sơn Đoòng as far as they could go. 5 kilometers in, 7 kilometers. And then, suddenly, a white wall. A calcite formation rising approximately 60 meters, nearly 200 feet, straight up from the cave floor. Smooth, pale, alien, dripping with moisture, blocking the passage completely like a natural dam across the cave. They named it the Great Wall of Vietnam. because it stopped them. Cold. In the largest cave in the world. A wall. They came back with ropes and proper climbing equipment in subsequent expeditions. They scaled the Great Wall and found that behind it, beyond it, the cave continued. More passage, more chambers, more impossible cathedral space stretching further into the mountain. The Great Wall of Vietnam is now part of the expedition route. Visitors climb it, look back from the top at the passage they've walked through, kilometers of it, lit by headlamps and the occasional shaft of surface light, and are confronted with the full, staggering scale of what they're standing inside. It's described by every guide, every expedition member, every visitor who has made it this far as one of the most profound moments of their lives. I believe them. I believe every single one of them. Ooh. Here's a thing that happens inside Sơn Đoòng that I haven't mentioned yet, because I was saving it. Sơn Đoòng creates its own weather. Not kind of its own weather. Actual weather. Mist forms inside the cave. Clouds develop near the dolines. Temperature differentials between the cave passages and the outside air create wind. Sometimes a strong, steady wind blowing through the main passage from one end to the other. It rains inside Sơn Đoòng, not from the drips of water filtering through rock, from actual clouds that form near the dolines and precipitate. It rains. Inside. The cave. The airflow is significant enough that during certain times of year, a visible mist billows out of the cave entrance, that same cold air that Ho Khan felt rushing past him in 1990, the air that told him something vast was beneath his feet. It's the cave breathing. That's not a metaphor either. The cave breathes. Temperature changes outside cause pressure changes that drive air in and out of the cave passages in rhythmic cycles. You can feel it when you're standing at the entrance. The mountain, inhaling and exhaling around you. Some people find that deeply spiritual. Some people find it deeply terrifying. Most people find it both simultaneously. Which is probably the correct response. Oh. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, I want to go to Sơn Đoòng, good, that's a healthy instinct. But let's talk about what that actually means, because it is not a casual weekend getaway. Sơn Đoòng is only accessible through one tour operator, Oxalis Adventure, based in Son Track. They have the exclusive license to run expeditions into the cave. This is actually a good thing. It means the cave is protected, visitor numbers are limited, and the experience is managed by people who actually know what they're doing in one of the most challenging environments on Earth. One tour operator for the largest cave in the world. If the expedition takes 6 days, 6 full days. This is not a day trip. This is not a pop-in, snap a photo, grab a souvenir. This is a genuine expedition with porters, guides, camp cooks, safety ropes, river crossings, and at least one moment per person, guaranteed apparently, where they question all of their life choices. Before you even reach the cave entrance, you have to get there. The approach hike through Phong Nha Ke Bang jungle takes the better part of a day. The jungle is dense, humid, hot, and full of the kinds of plants and insects that have evolved to be inconvenient to humans. There are leeches. There are river crossings. There are hills that seem to go on past the point where hills have any right to continue. By the time you reach the cave entrance, before you have descended a single meter into the darkness, you are already understanding that Sơn Đoòng does not come to you. You come to Sơn Đoòng on its terms. Sơn Đoòng. The entrance descent is steep. Ropes are fixed. The team descends carefully, testing footholds on slippery rock, moving through the transition from blinding jungle sunlight to the profound, total darkness of the cave. That transition, from light to dark, from open sky to enclosed stone, from the noise of jungle to the eerie silence of an underground world, is described by every expedition member as a moment they will never forget. Your brain has to recalibrate. Everything you know about space and scale becomes temporarily meaningless. You're in a different world now. The rules here are different. Lean. The 6-day expedition includes multiple nights camping inside the cave. Inside. In the dark. In the largest cave in the world. Campsites have been established in the main passage, areas with relatively flat ground near water sources. The expedition team sets up proper tents, prepares hot meals, and does their best to make the inside of a colossal underground void feel somewhat hospitable. Nights inside Sơn Đoòng are described as unlike any other experience of darkness in the world. When the headlamps go off, the dark is total. Absolute. There is no ambient light anywhere, no moon, no stars, no distant glow of civilization. Just dark so complete, it has texture. And the sounds, the river, the dripping, the wind through the passages, the cave settling, which produces occasional deep groans and cracks that your brain, your very reasonable, very alarmed brain, will insist sound like something moving in the dark. It's the rock. It's always the rock. Probably. In the middle. The guides have been doing this for years. They sleep perfectly well. They'd like you to know that. 2. The underground river sections require swimming or wading. The water is cold, clear. In your headlamp, you can see the bottom, white sand, smooth pebbles, the shadows of fish that have never seen sunlight and whose eyes are either vestigial or absent entirely. You will swim in an underground river, in the dark, in the largest cave in the world. That sentence is available to you. Use it at dinner parties forever. Twee. All right, let's address the elephant in the cave. The Sơn Đoòng expedition is not cheap. The full 6-day experience costs approximately $3,000 USD per person. This price covers guides, porters, all food, camping equipment, permits, and the expertise of a team that keeps you alive inside one of the most remote and challenging environments on Earth. $3,000. To be absolutely humbled by nature. To feel cosmically small. To question your place in the universe. Honestly, by the standards of what you're getting, some would argue that's a bargain. But wait, there's more. Not only does the expedition cost $3,000, it books out, far out. Demand massively exceeds the limited slots available. Only a few hundred people are permitted to enter Sơn Đoòng per year. At the time of filming, expeditions are regularly sold out many months, sometimes over a year, in advance. You have to book a slot. Wait. Hope the dates work out. Pay the money. Do the training. And then go. And people do. Every available slot, year after year, fills up. People from every corner of the world put Sơn Đoòng on their list, save up, plan around it, make it happen. Which tells you something, I think. It tells you that even now, even in an age of satellite images and drone footage and virtual reality, there are places that demand to be stood inside. That cannot be adequately experienced from a screen. Sơn Đoòng is one of those places. You can watch every video ever made about this cave. You can look at every photograph. You can hear every description. And none of it will prepare you for what it actually feels like to be inside it. That's a feature, not a bug. Fourth, Sơn Đoòng isn't just a tourist destination, it's an active scientific site, and what researchers have been learning from it has implications that reach well beyond just cave science. The cave itself is estimated to be between 2 and 5 million years old. 2 to 5 million years. The river that carved it was flowing through this rock when the ancestors of modern humans were just beginning to make stone tools in Africa. It was ancient when the dinosaurs had already been gone for 60 million years. In geological terms, 2 to 5 million years is relatively recent. These are young caves by the standards of the limestone karst landscape they're carved into. But by any human measure, this cave is incomprehensibly old. The calcite formations inside Sơn Đoòng have been studied extensively. The cave pearls, the stalactites, the stalagmites, the flowstone, all of these are records. They record changes in climate, in rainfall, in temperature, over thousands of years. Scientists can drill tiny cores from these formations and read the chemistry like tree rings, knowing what the weather was like in central Vietnam 50,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago, during past ice ages and warm periods. The cave is a climate archive. The formations are chapters. Every drip of water, every mineral deposit, is a sentence in a very long book about the history of this planet's weather. The ecosystems inside Sơn Đoòng, particularly in and around the dolines, are genuinely novel, species that exist nowhere else, adaptations to total darkness, food webs that operate without photosynthesis at their base, relying instead on dissolved minerals and organic material carried in by the underground river. Every expedition that enters Sơn Đoòng returns with new species observations. The cave is still not fully understood biologically. There are passages that haven't been surveyed, side chambers that haven't been mapped. The biological survey is ongoing, and scientists expect to keep finding new things for decades. Understanding how the underground river works, where it enters the mountain, how it flows, where it exits, has practical implications for water management in the region. The karst landscape of Phong Nha-Kẻ Bàng is a vast, complex plumbing system under the earth. Mapping it matters for local communities who depend on groundwater, for conservation planning, for understanding how the landscape will respond to climate change. Sơn Đoòng is a window into that system. A very dramatic, very large, very beautiful window. I need to tell you about the cable car plan, because it exists, and it is exactly as troubling as you're now imagining. In 2014, a proposal emerged to build a cable car into Sơn Đoòng, a gondola system that would carry tourists directly to the dolines, bypassing the need for the multi-day jungle expedition and allowing far more visitors per year. The rationale was economic: more tourists, more revenue, more development for the local area. The response from the scientific community, conservation organizations, and the cave exploration world was approximately, absolutely not. The concerns were significant and specific. A cable car would require infrastructure, pylons, stations, construction equipment that would inevitably damage the cave environment. Increased visitor numbers would impact air quality inside the cave, introduce pathogens, disrupt the delicate ecosystems, and accelerate erosion on the cave floor. The formations that have been growing, undisturbed, for millions of years could be damaged irreparably by increased human activity. And perhaps most fundamentally, the thing that makes Sơn Đoòng extraordinary is not just its size, it's its wildness, its remoteness. The fact that to reach it, you have to earn it. 6 days of physical effort, of discomfort, of genuine expedition. The cave that makes you work to enter is a different experience than the cave you float into on a gondola. The cable car proposal was met with an international petition signed by tens of thousands of people. It was ultimately shelved, for now. Plans in Vietnam for tourism development are ongoing and complex, and the long-term future of Son Doong's protection is something conservationists continue to watch carefully. The cave has survived 2 to 5 million years. Here's hoping it survives us. That last sentence is the saddest thing I've said in this video, and I want you to sit with it for a moment. Cool. We should go back to Ho Khan. He deserves more than a footnote. Ho Khan is a farmer and hunter from the village of Xuan Tru in Quảng Bình province. He grew up in this landscape, in this jungle, in this mountain. He knew it the way only people who have lived their whole lives in a place can know it. In 1990, during a storm, he ducked into a cave entrance he'd found while searching for timber, felt the cold air, heard the river, made a mental note of the location, somewhere in a vast jungle full of limestone outcroppings and dense vegetation, and then couldn't find it again. For almost 2 decades. In 2008, he finally relocated the entrance and led British cavers Howard and Deb Limbert to it. What they found changed the scientific understanding of cave geology. It earned a place in the record books. It became a globally significant discovery. And Ho Khan became a guide. He is a leading guide for Son Doong expeditions now. The man who stumbled upon the world's largest cave by accident, couldn't find it again for 20 years, and ultimately led the team that introduced it to the world. If you go on the Son Doong expedition today, there is a chance, a real, genuine chance, that Ho Khan himself may be part of your team, walking you through the cave he found, the cave he lost, the cave he found again. The man who knew this mountain really knew it, and still needed 20 years to find the hole in its side. That should make every one of us feel better about whatever we've been struggling to find. I haven't been to Son Doong. I want to be clear about that, and I'm choosing not to pretend I have, because this cave deserves honesty. But I've read every account I can find. I've watched every interview with expedition members. I've listened to guides describe the moment guests first enter the main passage. And the words that come up again and again, across every account, from every person who has been there, are remarkably consistent. They say, silence. Not the silence of a quiet room, not the silence of a park at night. The silence of geological time, the silence of a space so large that the air itself doesn't carry sound the way it does on the surface, the silence of being somewhere that existed exactly as it is, long before your species learned to make fire. They say, small, sammenforben. Not just physically small, though yes, you are physically very small inside Son Doong. They mean something else. They mean that the experience recalibrates something in your mind, that the sense of scale, of the cave around you, of the time it took to form, of the life that exists inside it, independent of anything you've ever known, reaches down into some deep part of your brain and gently rearranges it. You come out of Son Doong different, they say, not dramatically, visibly different. Not in a way you can fully explain to anyone who asks at a dinner party, but different in the way that experiences of genuine, overwhelming scale make you different. Quieter somehow, more patient, more aware of what is actually large and what just feels large. They also say their feet hurt, because 6 days of expedition hiking and cave scrambling is not easy on the feet, and their appetite is enormous by the end. And there was that one river crossing where someone definitely panicked a little, and the sleeping bag was never quite warm enough. Because it's still an adventure, still uncomfortable, still real. The cave is extraordinary, the experience is extraordinary, and you are still a human being who needs to eat, sleep, and occasionally be afraid of the dark. Sơn Đoòng doesn't let you forget either of those things. Sơn, on. Photographers lose their minds in Sơn Đoòng, in the best possible way. The light inside the cave, particularly around the dolines, is unlike anything that occurs anywhere else in the world. Shafts of sunlight drop hundreds of meters from the openings above and hit the cave floor in beams so defined, so solid-looking, that they appear almost tangible. The mist that forms near the dolines catches these beams and creates a visual effect that seems computer-generated but is entirely, stubbornly, beautifully real. The contrast between the dark cave walls, the formations, the underground jungle, and those cathedral shafts of light creates images that don't look like photographs. They look like paintings. They look like concept art for a science fiction film. They look like something that shouldn't exist. The most famous images of Sơn Đoòng, the ones that went viral, the ones that made people around the world stop scrolling and just stare, were taken by photographer Carsten Peter for National Geographic in 2009 and 2010. If you haven't seen them, search for them after this video. They are extraordinary. But here is the thing that every photographer who has been to Sơn Đoòng will tell you, with a particular kind of resigned affection. The photographs don't capture it. Not because the photographers aren't skilled, they are extraordinarily skilled. Not because the equipment isn't capable, the equipment is excellent. It's because the experience of Sơn Đoòng is fundamentally three-dimensional, temporal, and sensory, in a way that a flat image cannot contain. The photographs show you the light. They show you the scale, approximately, imperfectly. They cannot give you the silence. They cannot give you the cold air. They cannot give you the sound of the river below, the feeling of the cave breathing, the weight of the darkness pressing against the edge of your headlamp beam. The photographs are advertisements for an experience. And the experience is better than any advertisement ever made for it. Sơn Đoòng was only formally measured and confirmed as the world's largest cave in 2009. For most of recorded history, it simply existed, unknown to anyone outside the immediate region, unsurveyed, unmapped, its scale unimagined. That fact alone should recalibrate something in how we think about this planet. We live in an age of satellites and drones, of deep-sea submersibles and radio telescopes pointed at the edges of the observable universe. We know what the surface of Mars looks like in better detail than we knew the surface of Earth 100 years ago. We can image black holes. We can sequence genomes. We can map the ocean floor. And in 1990, a man was walking through a jungle in Vietnam and fell upon the entrance to the largest cave in the world, a cave that had been there, unchanged, for at least 2 million years. And the world didn't know it existed. Within, there are other places like this. Not caves necessarily, but places, ecosystems, geological formations, species that exist right now, on this same Earth we all share, that no human eye has ever seen, that no scientific instrument has yet detected, that are simply there, in the dark, in the deep ocean, in the ice, in the jungle, waiting. Not waiting for us, specifically. They are not waiting. They do not care. They have been there without us, and they will continue to be there, or not be there, entirely independent of whether we find them. But we might find them, and when we do, When someone stumbles upon something that changes the map of what we thought was possible, it will matter that we protected the wild places, that we moved carefully in the few extraordinary places we have found, that we understood what we were walking through before we built infrastructure across it. Sơn Đoòng matters not just as a record holder, not just as a tourist destination, not just as a scientific site. It matters as evidence. Evidence that the Earth is still larger than our understanding of it. That discovery is still possible. That wonder is not a historical relic. The cave has been there for 2 million years. It will be there after us. What we choose to do with it while we're here, whether we protect it, study it, experience it with appropriate humility, that is entirely up to us. Choose wisely. The expedition returns to the surface. The 6 days end. The teams climb back up toward the entrance, back through the descent section, back toward the pale circle of light that marks the boundary between underground and above. And then you're out, standing in the jungle again, sun on your face, actual direct sun, for the first time in however many days you've been below. The noise of the surface world returns. Insects, birds, wind, the sounds of people. All of it seems louder than you remembered, brighter, more chaotic. You've been somewhere very quiet, somewhere very dark, somewhere where time moved differently, where the pace of things was measured in drips of water and the slow growth of stone. Expedition members describe this return to the surface as its own kind of experience. Some describe it as a relief. Many describe it as a strange sadness. The knowledge that you've left something behind, something you can't carry out with you. You leave empty-handed. The cave gives you nothing to take home, not literally. No souvenirs, no fragments, no samples. The cave gives you only what it has always given, the experience of having been inside it. And that is apparently enough. More than enough. Enough to change how you understand large and dark and old and alive and real. Enough to make you different in some quiet, unnameable way from the person who walked in. The cave has been there for 2 million years. And for 6 days, for the first time in its existence, it was also yours. Hang Sơn Đoòng, the mountain river cave, the largest cave in the world. It is sitting there right now, in the dark, in the Phong Nha-Kẻ Bàng jungle in central Vietnam. The river is moving through it. The stalactites are growing, a centimeter every 100 years or so, but growing. The jungle in the dolines is photosynthesizing in those shafts of light. The pale fish in the underground river are going about whatever it is that blind cave fish do. It is not waiting for you. It doesn't need you. It was extraordinary before you knew it existed, and it will be extraordinary long after you are gone. But if you can get there, if you can do the 6 days, carry the pack, cross the rivers, sleep in the dark, climb the wall, if you can stand in the main passage and look up at a ceiling 250 meters above your head and down at a jungle growing where no jungle should, go. Yo. Go and be small for a while. The world will wait. The world has been waiting since long before it had anyone to wait for. The cave has room for you. It has room for everything.